This is Coach Gaglione here from GaglioneStrength.com, and this is another edition of the Powerlifting for the People podcast. We have another strong lady on the line, a very, very, very strong lady. What's going on, Bonica? How you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
For those, I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on the show. For those of the people that maybe don't know who you are, can you just introduce yourself really quick and just tell us who you are and then what you got going on right now?
All right, well, my name is Bonica Lough. I'm the super heavyweight powerlifter of USAPL. Right now, I just got back from Equip Worlds a couple weeks ago, and I get to have a mini off season for the first time in a long time, and we'll be training for the Arnold Classic coming up.
Yeah, what do we got, like 12 weeks, 13 weeks out from the Arnold, something like that? 13?
I don't count weeks ahead, honestly. It only sinks in when it's like
a couple,
3 weeks prior.
Yeah, I gotcha. Cool.
So I don't count ahead.
You got a couple of months. I know before you know it, we'll be in Columbus again, right? So.
Yeah. I'll start thinking about more in February.
Very cool. Well, it's great to have you. So I want to rewind a little bit. So you have been like lifting for quite some time. I think maybe some people maybe not even aware of like kind of when you got started. I know you got started early on, but tell us a little bit about how you actually got started. Maybe not even just powerlifting, but how did you get started lifting weights? And then what kind of like made you kind of choose to do your first competition?
Well, I started powerlifting all the way back November 25th, 2002, and realized it was my 15 years since that first day in the gym. The only reason I got into the gym was I went to a small school, and so there's not like so much of opportunities of sports or anything. They are pretty equal with sports.
Yeah.
You know, girls are able to do wrestling, and you know there was one girl that did football. I even got to play football.
Cool.
But that was because of lifting. But anyway, we still have to go back in time. So when I was in 7th and 8th grade, I obviously played volleyball in the wintertime, and I was one of the really good volleyball players. And I thought, I can't wait to go to high school and play volleyball. But obviously I'm blindsided back then because I'm always about equality amongst everybody, even when I was a kid. And I didn't realize that, this school is not that equal. You have to be, so the school I went to was a really, really small school.
Yeah.
Usually the graduation classes are in the 30s. Mine was abnormally large and was in the 60s. The largest in school history, to be precise.
Yeah.
Which is really sad to say. But when it comes to high school, since you're such a small school, you basically had to have the right last name. Tall, cute, skinny, typical little volleyball player. Obviously, I did not fit that mold. I was short. I was a bigger girl. And even a couple of my friends, even though they were smaller than, they were thinner than me, but they were shorter than me. They didn't even make the team.
Yeah.
And tryouts were after Thanksgiving. So you have Thanksgiving, and then the Friday and Saturday after that, it was the tryouts. And Saturday, find out, obviously not make the team.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a girl, I'm proud to say, I still do today, you're going to cry. And I cried. I cried to my mom, of course. And I just couldn't believe how unfair it was. And she was upset. And so what she did was she went to the athletic director of the school. And she went to him and, obviously, I don't know the conversation between them. I'm good. I don't want to know.
Uh-huh.
And so he said, well, is she going to do cheerleading or powerlifting? And I was not going to do cheerleading. Sorry, any cheerleaders out there? That was never my thing then. It's not now. Obviously, I'll cheer people in the crowd, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, sure.
No. And so, my mom, she was athletic when she was in college, high school and college. And, her brothers were very athletic. Like my uncle was like the all-star football player. And, my grandfather had all the genes, even on my father's side. And so she's like, you have the athletic ability. You have athleticism in your blood.
Yeah.
So, and she knew what weights were. I didn't know she did. So she's like, you're going to do powerlifting. What's that? I knew nothing.
And
I didn't know
just really quick,
anything.
what state was this?
This is in Michigan. I'm born and raised.
Okay, cool. No, because
Go
I was just curious because I know I really wish that we didn't really have high school powerlifting in the Northeast, just go on.
Well, of course, all schools you have to have football players gonna lift weights and everything. And so after school, I was oblivious to it. So there was a classroom. It's not even a real big weight room. It's a classroom. So probably 30 feet by 30.
Wow.
I don't know. It was really tiny, and that was the weight room. I always walked past it all the time, but never knew that was the weight room.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know anything. So you pick a subject that you absolutely know nothing about, and that's how I was. So I was told to go to school on the Monday morning, or not Monday morning, Monday afternoon, and go lift. And it was obviously one of the most terrifying moments ever, because you're doing something totally new. You're going into the dark on something. And so my first day was 45, 50, 55 pounds on squat and bench. And squats, I didn't grasp right away. Benches, I didn't grasp those right away either. And, but what was really cool is I did have this so if I was a ninth grade, I think he was in 5th or 6th grade. I have to try to figure it out. But this little intermediate high school kid, not high school, but intermediate kid, he became my workout partner that day, the first day working out. And so every day I would be learning different exercises. So I would have to try going to archives of an old computer to figure out all the workouts. And yes, I wrote them down. Eventually learned cleans and then deadlifts. And then I had a workout partner, and so that was awesome. His name is Tyler Wade. I'll give him a shout out if you ever listen to this. So come on, you got to remember your first workout partner.
Yeah.
But I kept progressing. And then they said there was a powerlifting meet December something, probably around this time, honestly. So 15 years ago around this time,
cool.
I did my first powerlifting
Very cool.
So 4 weeks later, I did a competition. I'm I'm not ready for this. I'm still trying to learn how to lift. But I did. And I think I did a 200 5 squat. I did a 105 or 115 bench and a 205 deadlift. Weeks later, I kept increasing.
Yeah.
And on every single set, I remember I always had to ask anybody in the room, how do you load this? How do you load this? I did not understand the math of this. 45-pound bars is so dumb. I don't get it. What do I put on each side? That plate? Okay, I need 2 of those. Okay, I'm try to load it, and and I remember one moment when I guess I had 135 on it, but I didn't know what that big plate was, or maybe somebody loaded. And I remember, there were a couple older guys, so it could have been juniors and seniors. They're she's gonna squat this? No way. And then I repped it out, how many reps I had to do.
I guess some things don't change.
I know.
It's wait a second, what's going on here?
So I think that's when it clicked that I really liked squats. Probably right there, that's a little mini click, was that moment. And always hearing all the guys complain about how squats are hard, and I just wanted to beat them. Well, slowly, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but that's how I got into it. I didn't make the volleyball team. And
so just really,
it's kind of it's not like a Michael Jordan story, but it is. How he didn't get on.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, I know what you're saying, but it is kind of true. Let's say maybe you did. Let's say you made the team. Who knows what path you would have taken? I mean,
yeah,
so it really is
exactly.
true. It really is. It's pretty crazy how kind of we fall into these things sometimes, and just whether it's fate or whatever you want to call it. But so did you have a coach, or was there just kind of here you go, here's the weight room, it's kind of free for all, or what was that kind of like?
No, I had guidance. I had to learn because I didn't know anything about lifting. Nothing. It's just like chemistry. You don't know anything about chemistry. You gotta learn it.
And did you have did you guys have a full lineup of weight classes on the team, or or?
See, You forgot though. This is a 30 by 30 square foot room.
No. I know that's. I'm trying to like. That's what I'm trying to picture this. I mean, that's kind of how my. That's kind of how my old high school weight room was too. So I was just kind of curious, like how.
Well, I don't know. I didn't have a PE class. Well, like we did have PE class. I think we did learn use. No, I didn't have to. No, when I was a freshman, I didn't have PE. I don't think we didn't get to have it every year because they had. You must have these classes of freshman year. These ones
so interesting.
Yeah. So freshman year, no, I didn't have PE. Or if we did, we didn't go in the weight room. Because maybe they said it was too dangerous or something. I don't remember that.
That sounds like something they would say in schools.
Yeah, but it was open after school. So once the bell rang, boom, doors. Once the coach coach. So it would have been our PE teacher. So we did have a PE teacher, and the athletic director. It would have been one of them too. That was a good sentence. To open the door. So yeah, it wasn't a total free for all because obviously it was small, so there was supervision. And like I said, so we called it intermediate school because, here's our high school. The intermediate was 200 yards, 300, I don't know how many yards away. And so that was 3rd grade to 6th grade. And so a couple of those 5th, 6th graders would walk to the school and they would lift and, junior high and high school kids. So whoever would lift, but it wasn't that many. Yeah. In that small room, not that many people lifted anyway. So it was okay. So, yeah, free-for-all, but not a free-for-all.
Cool.
But what really got me into USAPL as
I was going to ask. Yeah, I was going to ask you. Was it always because around? I'm trying to think. Around the time you started, was USAPL a thing yet, or?
Oh yeah, USAPL has been around forever.
Well, I know. Well, I know. The IPF affiliate was the letters were different at a point, but I guess maybe that was a little bit.
It was USAPL.
A little bit further back, but I'm thinking maybe I might be going a little bit further back into the Ed Cohn errors and stuff. But so USAPL, but I guess it was just still single ply at that point. Or was there, I don't think Raw was a.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no Raw wasn't really.
So my high school wasn't associated with USAPL. Nobody knew about.
Okay,
USAPL.
Okay,
my school.
That was my question. Yeah, so.
Yep. So it wasn't. So I went to Climax Scots. That's where I went to school. Climax wasn't who introduced me, who got me into USAPL. So when I went to that powerlifting meet in December, when I came out of the blue, it was called Michigan High School Power. It was the Michigan High School Football Coaches Association powerlifting meets is what it was.
Okay, it's very interesting.
And yeah, I know it's a mouthful. That's why I had to stop. It's I used to say it really good, MHSFCA something. Football coaches. Yeah, that's it. Whatever. So I came out of the blue, and it was Plainwell High School coaches that saw me. They saw the diamond in the rough. A girl come out of the blue they'd never seen before because they go every single meet. They would be every single meet, demolish the team. They always get first place in the team, male, female, team, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the team trophies were.
Right.
They always take it all. So they saw me, and so kind of like football scouts.
Yeah, sure, yes.
And I was a football coach too, and so I guess they somehow started talking to my mom during the competition, and there was another competition after that, probably January or February, and I started going out. My mom would drive me to the school and learn more about powerlifting and lifting and technique. And yes, it was only so in high school, obviously you're just raw lifting, but there were still single ply equipment. And so they introduced me to single ply, and then they actually invited me to my first USAPL meet, which was in April of 2003, and it was called the No Frills, which was just basically a qualifier meet, no medals, no trophies, no nothing, just a qualifier for a national meet is what it was for. And so I did that meet. I almost bombed out on bench. Well, I really didn't bomb out. I missed my opener because I didn't understand the commands because the Michigan high school football coaches were different from USAPL.
Sure.
But I did a no-frills meet, and my mom kept taking me to the school over the summer, and, they just, getting me better and better. Lifting-wise, gave me a program kind of, and I would do the lifting, take it to school and do it. Still do what the football coaches at my school did. So I was just kind of I just kept lifting. I was lifting 5 days a week whenever to school, whenever it was open. I think even that summer, I think that summer is when I even had driver's training. Yeah. So we had to do that over summer at my school, and they even opened up the doors for me so I could work out. So it was an adventure getting into it.
Yeah.
It's all thanks to playing well. So it's like there's a lot of many steps that that went along with it. There was a lot to it. I just didn't go boom USAPL right off the bat.
No, of course. Well, yeah, that's what I was curious. I think I forget, it was one of the referees at Nationals was kind of joking, like, if you want to look up any like the teen records, just look up Bonica's records and sorry. But it was but anyway, so obviously it seemed like you had some success early on. It wasn't really maybe like what you planned, but was there any like defining moment where you like wanted to take things a little bit more seriously? Obviously, you're going to the Arnold, you're going competing at Worlds now. Like, what made you kind of decide to like put a little bit more time and energy into this? And was there ever like a certain meet or like, I don't know, a certain moment where you're like, okay, this is kind of like something I really want to pursue a little bit more, on a serious level?
Well, I always knew that powerlifting was something fun to do because people kept telling me the sky was the limit.
Yeah.
So when I first started lifting, I kept, okay, back then, your last set, you always had to do 10 reps. Why? I don't know.
Do like a rep out set or whatever.
Yeah. Did.
It sounds like a football coach thing.
It's wrong. Okay, I know it's wrong. But so it was always your last set be 10 reps. Well, I always blasted through them. And they kept adding weight every week, and I kept doing it. And, like, my body just kept accelerating to it.
Yeah, you were adapting.
The only, I guess what started it, that this was the realest sport for me, was when I went to my first nationals, 2004 Women's Nationals. Came out of the blue. Nobody knew who I was. But also, I call it the modern-day powerlifting. All these modern-day lifters are spoiled with having a nominations list right away. So I'm actually guilty and glad that the nominations list for Raw Nationals wasn't posted till 2-3 days after the deadline. I honestly love that. But anyway, so there was no nominations list. You don't know anything when you go to a competition back in the day. You just show up see who's there.
You mail your check-in, you show up, and you just kind of go, yeah.
And you just lift. You don't ask about the bars. You don't ask about the plates.
There's
going to be stuff there for you.
I started lifting 12 years ago, so I can totally relate. And, I know. A lot of people kind of, like, get a little spoiled with all the technology and stuff and, like, yeah, I feel you.
It's like, dude, there's stuff there. If you're kilo plates, you got a calculator. You know pounds? Obviously, everybody knows pounds.
Yeah.
But, so going to my first Women's Nationals, I won. I came out of the blue. People were like, who's this kid? And back then, Larry Maley was the Women's Open team coach and came up to me. He's like, congratulations, you got first place. Would you like to go to a Women's Open Worlds? And I'm like, what's that? I didn't know there was a world competition.
There's more?
there's more? Well, he purposely, the Plainwell coach, Todd Miller, purposely hid that from me because he didn't want me to think about it.
Yeah, just one step at a time, yeah.
Yeah, basically just wanted me to lift, he said, just be the amazing lifter that you are and just lift.
Cool.
That's what I did and executed. Yeah, it's so learning that, and then there was like North American meets and it was like Sub-Junior Worlds. Well, I think I knew about Sub-Junior Worlds, but I didn't know about the Open. I knew about Sub-Junior. And so, it's just every meet you go to, you learn experiences and more competitions.
Right.
And my mom and I were just like, we're go-getters. And, if something's presented to you, just do it. Don't think about it. Well, sometimes you got to think about it, but just do it. And so the ball just kept rolling, and then every year go to Worlds. So that's one thing a lot of people don't realize. I'm like, I've been to world competitions in 04, 5, 6, and 7. I went to Women's Open Worlds, and I try to remind people of that.
Well, I think people just see a little snapshot. Maybe they see a video of a recent nationals or recent worlds, and they think like they don't know the backstory, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast, so they can kind of maybe learn a little bit like on how you got to where you are now, and it's not like you just kind of snap your fingers and you squat 600 pounds, kind of thing. It's like it's
Yeah,
like
that's the biggest thing. Like people just see what's on the platform, but it's like there's
yeah, there's
a lot that
yeah,
happens behind the scenes.
yeah,
Like after the World Games, I wrote that really lengthy post,
hmm
tapping into a little bit of the background.
sure,
But then also like I try to remind people like I didn't lift for 5 years.
yeah,
So like my last meet was February 2008, women's nationals, and then like I moved. So I was from Michigan, and so then I moved to Nebraska, and then I was doing multiple jobs, going to school. So I was like on my own, and so I just didn't have time to lift,
yeah.
and it just it fell off, and
Sure.
so I was like out of the game for
Yeah,
5 years.
yeah. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? So wherever you feel like you want to share, but basically like I know like a lot of especially the newer lifters that I work with and just new people coming in, they're in like such a rush. They're in such a rush to like get to this next level. They're in such a rush to like put so many pounds in their total. And I think yours is like a really good example that you did take some time off, and obviously that which is substantial, and you're still doing okay. You're still doing well. You're still making gains. You're still progress. Obviously, it's probably a little bit harder than it was, starting out. But so can you just tell us a little bit about like the layover and then like how what things you kind of had to do to kind of come back and get back in the swing of things?
Well, like I said, I didn't lift for 5 years, and I meant it. I didn't lift. I did not lift weights.
Yeah.
I tried to be a cardio bunny. That didn't work. Because then I just faltered off. But so like there was just a day that like I just broke down. I was working 2 jobs, and I was tired of working from 5 a.m.
Yeah.
till 10, 11 p.m. at night. 2 jobs, basically 7 days a week. And I didn't know what time off was because I'm stubborn. I work too hard.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, I'm done. And so one of my jobs was working at a gym, which is really sad, right? I was working at a gym. I couldn't work out. Okay, it's true. It was 24-hour fitness. I couldn't work.
24 fitness, nice.
And so there was a gym member, and, I don't want to say my job because then people flock me for well, this one lady works somewhere. And then I just took a leap of faith. I'm like, I'll apply. And so I went for that job, and then I decided to start working out. And when I started working out back in February 2013, I was just working out to work out, as in, like, I had the knowledge of, like, supersetting, light cardio, weight training. So I was actually making up workouts every day, and I had fun. Like, I was, 24-hour fitnesses have basketball courts, and I made, like, 8 stations of things to do. I'm serious. It was fun. Like, I could train people. I could put you through torture. I tortured myself. And then, like, so I was just, like, losing weight, and I lost, like, 30 pounds or so, something, and, like, inches everywhere. But I started getting into, like, the powerlifting movements. Like, I did a little bit of squatting and benching. I didn't bother with deadlifts. And then a couple of gym members in the morning, you could spot a powerlifter a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
While you're working out.
Sure.
And a couple of the guys are like, "Are you a powerlifter?" And I'm like, "I used to be." I did say that. And they're like, "Well, there's a powerlifting meet coming up." And I'm like, instantly, like, what do you like think of when you hear that? I want to know what you think.
What?
Like when somebody says there's a powerlifting meet.
Yeah, they want you to do it. They want you to do it, but
no. But what's my reaction to it was what federation?
Oh, okay. Yes, I don't. Yes, I don't really care about that stuff too much.
But...
I do. No, I know.
USAPL.
Well, I know. I could. Yeah. No. Well, yeah. I do. I probably lifted in. I started lifting in I don't know if you know WNPF, which is another it's another drug tested fed, but.
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, no, it's they have a lot of meets in like Jersey and like on the East Coast, but But yes,
Ah.
that's kind of like where I never. I don't even know. Well, anyway, you go on. We can. That's another conversation for another day.
Well, I asked what federation, and they
Yeah.
said USAPL, and
Okay.
I'm like, okay, when is it? And so this is March. You know, beginning of March or so, or middle, a couple weeks into March, and they said next month, and I'm like,
You're like,
I'm not ready to
yeah.
go. And so then later that day, I wrote on one of our, I knew a person here in Nebraska. Her name is Teresa, and so I posted on her Facebook wall. I'm like, hey, are you going to the meet? I heard there's one coming up. Are you refereeing? Are you competing? And then, out of the blue, other well-known lifters commented. Katie Dodge was one of them here in Nebraska. Now I went blank on her name. Oh, darn it. That's bad. I went blank. Oh, well, the main one that really peer pressured me was Priscilla. Priscilla saw that post.
Priscilla's like, you gotta get back into it.
Or Regina Hackney. Gosh, sorry, Regina, went blank on your name. So the three of them were bombarding me in a good way and peer pressuring me to do the competition. And I'm like, my equipment's not going to fit me. I don't even know if I have a single that'll fit.
Yeah.
And, I'm not ready. And, like, Priscilla's like, just do it. Just do it. Just, it's okay. Go raw. Just have fun. Just get your groove back,
Yeah.
And so then I put in my entry form that day to compete a month later. And so that was April. And, but, like, getting into the lifts, I didn't focus on what I did 5 years prior.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people do. They focus on that and they're in a rush.
Yeah.
I always listen to my body. And I wrote down my workouts. And I'm like, oh, okay, I did 225. Awesome. We'll bump up the weight next week, 235. Or, figure out where I'm at. Try to do sets of 5s and 4s. Like, that's what I was just going with the flow and have fun. That's what I was doing, getting back into it. And, I just didn't focus on the past because I know my body is different now. It's not, that little, let's see, so how old was I? So was I don't want to think about it, how old I was. But I know I wasn't like my little teenager self,
Sure.
My little 18, 19-year-old self. I'm older, so things are different. And I just went to that meet and had fun. I know I squatted 3-something. I benched 2-something and deadlifted 3-something. I don't remember those numbers that well. But and just after that, I just steamrolled, just improved my numbers. And like at that time, there was no qualifying total for Raw Nationals. So hey, let's train for Raw Nationals, But then it's like, also that night, after the competition, a person said to me that night, see you at Nationals. You want to guess who that was?
Kim?
Yep.
Yeah.
And we chatted for hours that
Nice.
night, and then she became my coach after the powerlifting.
That was going to be my next question. But
What was your question?
well, I was going to ask you about like how you and Kim got connected originally, but yeah, so.
Oh, originally it was 2005 North American powerlifting meet. So that's how we knew each other. It was back then.
Cool.
She was the 148-pounder, and I was the 198-pounder.
Cool.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know
that's how we met initially.
Very
And
cool.
she kind of poked and prodded at me, asked how I was doing every once in a while during that 5-year gap.
Yeah, I'm not sure how, but Kim has been a great influence on me, a great influence on the sport, and I'll just never forget. Like I know, like I kind of spoke about it briefly when you guys did the seminar at our gym, but I remember the first time I met Kim, I didn't realize like who she was, and I was like, oh, like do you like work out, like do you like compete, and then she starts like rattling off all her accolades, and I'm just like I felt like such like a dummy, but she was like really like nice about it. It was pretty funny. I was like, oh, like honey, do you like work out? Like it's like yeah, it's like I deadlift like 500, something like no big deal, dude, it was hysterical. But she was a good sport about it. But
Yeah.
cool. All right, awesome. So yeah, so that was kind of like your kind of comeback, and then I think just to kind
Yeah.
of reiterate for the people that are listening, I think that's if you do have some time off, whether it's through injury or just life gets in the way, maybe you have a kid or whatever. Like life happens sometimes. You're working like a couple of jobs, money's tight. There's going to be different priorities. There's other things in life besides lifting, and we understand that. So you could
Yeah.
always do another meet. You could always get back into it. Just do
Hmm.
that first workout, sign up for that meet, and just establish. That's kind of like what I'm doing this year. I've lost I've dropped a ton of weight.
Yeah.
I'm not really expecting to uh, I'm not really expecting to like hit the numbers I did at super heavyweight. I'm just gonna try to like
Yeah.
get a total, and then we'll go from
Yep.
there, and then we'll build from there. So I think that's like really good advice for people listening. If they have a layover or something like that. So cool.
Exactly. And so basically like the way I explained it was like my body was in hibernation. And doing the workouts again, it's like you had like a messy road, like,
Yeah.
overgrown road and so like getting back into it, now it's like a 2-track. And then it becomes a dirt road, and then maybe a concrete, and then it turns into super highway. And like how it takes a bit to do construction,
Yeah, it's a good
to make
analogy.
that road
Yeah, sure.
better.
Yeah, it's good. I like that. I like the word
Same thing
analogy.
with the
Yeah,
body.
cool.
It's just like my body remembered, like it was there,
Yeah,
and I just had to slowly just break the crust and all the yuck away, and I
yeah,
just grew. And like I think I even found like my old measurements. Yeah, I found measurements when I was trying to get equipment. I'm like, oh, those were small, and I grew because the body remembered and just left, started where it left off.
yeah.
Strength and size.
Sure. So I think that's a good time to switch gears. Literally talking about some geared lifting. So I know you do some raw lifting, you do some equipped lifting. Um, I think it's getting a little bit more. I guess people are getting a little bit more aware of it and like what it is, but I still we have a couple of girls actually getting into some bench shirts and squat suits and stuff, which is fun for me as a coach because that's not always something I'm actually getting to help people like get into the equipment and kind of learn that. So that's exciting for me. It's just another kind of like sport that we can kind of help people with. But I still get a lot of comments like, oh, like what is that? Why are you using these like 2x4s? Why are you putting these like boards on the chest and all these like weird questions? So like or like what is this or like why are they coming down so slow in the squat or whatever the case may be or um, what is if you had to tell the listeners like what is equipment and like why would you want to use equipment versus lift raw like how would you kind of explain it to like the general public?
Lifting raw is what anybody can do, which is great. Equipped, it's another different animal, but it's a
Yeah.
challenge, and it's a
Yes.
fun challenge. Because like if you're an athlete and you're a really good athlete, you want to be challenged consistently. And doing the equipped lifting is what it does. So wearing the squat suits, the knee wraps, the bench shirts, um, it takes practice. So it's a new kind of way. It's a new sport. Well, it's not new because you know the basics, but in a way it is because there is a different technique to
Sure.
squatting.
Yeah.
There's different technique to benching and to deadlifting. But when people start out, people I've noticed are mean and put a person right away in something super tight, and I'm against that.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, put them in something loose, like
Let them
obviously looser than a pair of
yeah
jeans.
let,
Okay, yeah, but like,
let them learn it. Yeah.
yeah, like you got to understand the movement. Like, be nice because you're scaring the person away.
Right.
That's me. Obviously I'll probably get bashed for that. I'm like, that's fine. You coach your
Right.
way. I'll teach people my way. But
Yeah.
like, you just ease the person into it, and then like when they see how that wearing that semi-tight suit is a challenge, they're gonna want it tighter, and they're gonna want that even that more of a challenge. You're like,
Sure.
I want it tighter here. I want it tighter here. Taking my biceps, taking my legs, because then they want that challenge more because it's that competitiveness
Sure.
and that eagerness. That will set in on its own. Like people, they want to wrap my knees super tight right away. I'm like, well, one, I don't have the pain tolerance for that right
sure,
now.
Sure.
Just back into it. Like, you have to be nice to me right now. Like, that, but they're like full blown equipped lifters, so they don't understand. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a newbie. Like, you guys are forgetting that. I'm not a newbie, but getting back into the equipment, basically I am.
I think I think that's a really. I just want to harp on a point. I think that's a really good point, especially because a lot of people like to do raw with wraps also. And so
Yes.
we have a couple of my coaches and some of my lifters at my gym, and they're really good at wrapping. But sometimes when they're like wrapping a newer lifter, they don't know how to like kind of scale it back. So
Um,
what will end up happening is I'll like end up, I admittedly I'm not like the best knee wrapper, but I have a good tendency. I could like, wrap a loose wrap. I can go a little bit tighter. I'm a little bit more flexible with like how I can wrap people. So a lot of like
yeah.
a lot of the women and kind of guys starting out, they kind of prefer like when I wrap them because I can kind of go to like what their pain tolerance level is. Um, but I think that's a really good point also about just the looser equipment. If you are interested in trying to equip lifting, success breeds success. So why if you're equip lifting can be very frustrating if you're always like if you can't hit depth in the squat or you can't touch in a bench shirt. If you're constantly bombing meets, I mean, it's just that's not really fun.
No.
So what why not you don't need to like have to you don't need to be like someone like Blaine Sumner who's getting several hundred pounds out of a bench shirt right away. You could progress into that. Maybe you're
Yes.
only getting 50 or 100 pounds out of your equipment and or whatever. That's great. And then
Yeah.
you can kind of go from there. And especially with some
Yeah.
of the single ply stuff. I mean, but
Yeah.
cool. So if maybe someone was I guess the other thing if you I know we kind of talked about like some different stuff, but also could you explain some of the differences in like the technique and some differences as far as like maybe like how you train in the equipment versus just like the raw stuff that you do?
Well, like the biggest one, like for me, it's bench, and it's just like at Worlds. Like I loved hearing the commentary; it was so funny. So my opener, beautiful. Second attempt, I knew what I did wrong. But like so when it's raw lifting, you want to come down to your chest fast. You want to explode it off your chest. Equip, it's the opposite. You gotta stay tight, hold it,
Yeah.
hold it, hold it. Bring it down, bring it down. Okay, take your don't want to take your time, bring it up, but take your time, bring it up. Work with the shirt. Why I didn't get my second attempt? I moved up too fast. I went. I was raw lifting
Get
and
out
shooting it off my chest too fast.
get a little out of the groove, get a little out of control. So yeah.
Yeah, and then the commentary, they're like, "Ooh, yeah, see, you can't put that much weight on there. No, 5 kilos. That must have been a big jump. Blah blah blah." I'm like, "No, it wasn't. I just went too fast with it." And then boom, prove them wrong on the third attempt, and boom, it was
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, blasted it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, but like obviously I can't hear the commentary while I'm lifting, but like hearing it after the fact, I'm like,
Yeah.
really, really, like no, but like that's the biggest thing, like benching, you know, and that's the hardest one. It's just like just staying tight, having control of it, pulling it down, and take your time pressing it up. That's the hardest one. Deadlifts, that one is just hard to get down in the
Yes.
velocity.
Very
It's
much so.
hard to get down. It's hard. I'm like, well, I don't even know if I have the first video because my phone crashed and died when I was in Czech Republic. My first video ever. It's just like, I'm like a foot away. How do you equip lifters do this? Like I couldn't get down.
It's hard.
It took like 10 tries. It's so funny. So like my stance on that, I just knew just get down, get tight, and just pull. So that is just a battle of getting down and getting the perfect position at the
Yes.
bottom.
Yeah.
When it came to squats, my stance was a little more different. Like I had a little bit more wider. I focused on, I call it Pile, Pile a little bit more with the knees,
Yeah, pushing
making
out.
sure like they just stay out during the whole entire lift. And just my stance was a little bit wider to work with the suit because I couldn't have it too narrow. And like also like with my squat suit, everybody complains about how it's so easy to put it on. I'm like, I got a lot of stuff in the front, okay, and like the straps have to go around that. And what matters is it's tight in the hole, and it's tight in the hole. It's like, don't worry, people. But also on the squats, you have to try to sit back a little bit more, which I really didn't get to perfect. I kind of did, I kind of didn't. Just sit in the back of the hole a little bit more, and then you just got to work with the suit with that. Like with warm-ups, like I have 500 with straps down. I'm like, I'm not going to hit depth. If I do, or close to it, great. But I'm not going to fight the suit. I'm not going to waste my energy and fight the
worried
suit.
about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you just have to find the weight that helps you get down. And, like, on bench, find the weight that you can pull it down to your chest. And the deadlift, will just somehow get down there. But
Cool.
it's totally different from raw. Raw, you just have your body and it's free.
Yeah.
And then you just got to remember in the single ply, you're just restricted. And so you just got to move like a tin man and work with it.
Yeah, I think that there's like a lot more room for error in the equipment. I think
Okay.
the more equipment that you add in, obviously you got to be like a little bit more precise for your technique. You can't really just like muscle it up like you said.
Nope.
Um, and I was just like, I think it was like kind of good what you said before. Like they are related, but it really is like a different animal. It's a different
Oh,
sport, so it's not cheating. It's just
no.
different. So I hate when people say it's like cheating. It's just not,
It's just,
it's just
no.
a different way to lift. So
Yeah, it's just another challenge, and it's fun to lift more heavy weight. And then, honestly, the equipped lifting, you're overloading your body. You're overloading. So, like raw with knee wraps, okay, you're overloading your body from
yeah,
what you can obviously do from your knee sleeves. So you can have, so your back can get used to the heavier weight, your body handling that extra weight. Slingshots or the rams, same thing with the benches. You're
same
overloading.
idea. Yeah.
And deadlifts, I really, yeah, really can't really overload that well with those, like the squat and bench.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah. It doesn't. The deadlift suit definitely doesn't help as much, but it definitely.
yeah,
I just like. I know for me, like I really enjoy deadlifting with the suit. It just feels really good on my hips, especially if you're a sumo
yeah,
lifter. And some people may find that's a little bit more comfortable, or maybe if they have like some sort of joint injury, maybe that allows them to train a little bit longer. Maybe you have a pec issue, a loose bench shirt, or slingshot type work. So there's always different situations where equipped lifting might be a good fit for the person too. So
yeah. Well, the deadlift suit, that's the overload, I guess. So I noticed when I was wearing my deadlift suits, my raw deadlifts were better, honestly. So I
cool.
forgot. So that's the way of overloading to me.
Yeah,
Works for me.
sure.
I'm going to incorporate it.
Yeah.
Um, but also that equipped lifting, all those overloads made my raw lifting, like raw nationals, everything flew up because of equipped training.
Yeah, no, you
So
look great. It's always impressive watching you lift. So that was a lot of fun. So
yeah,
very cool. So you're obviously especially I'd say you're probably most well known for your squat. I guess so. I guess you have world records in both raw and equipped. Correct? Is that true? Or
yes,
cool.
yes,
I wasn't sure about the equipped one because I don't follow the IPF single ply equipped as much, except for some of the American lifters. But so
yeah.
that's so what and you just shy of 700 pounds for
I the I'll be blunt. The plan was over 700 my
yeah, no,
second and third time.
I figured, and especially because you're doing 600 in knee sleeves, so I figured
Yeah,
probably
no, the plan was over 700 on the second and third attempt, but I was screwed over to only have 8 lifters in a flight,
yeah,
and that's not
that's
fair
very
to a
fast,
super
especially for
heavy.
wrapping knees, and you got to take the wraps off, and you got to yeah, that's a lot. So yeah,
Yeah, I timed it. So when I watched the competition on the YouTube replay, when I got off, when I just so here's the platform, and you walk off of it. And when I touched it again for my second attempt, it was 7 minutes
yeah,
or seven and a half
that's very quick.
between my first and second attempt.
Yeah,
And raw lifters, yeah, you can do that. Equipped, you can't. Especially,
yeah, it's a lot.
I have more weight on my back.
Yeah, no, yeah, sure.
There's no rest. And I wanted to die on my second attempt, but I was determined. And I'm like, no, we want this. We're gonna do this lift. Just execute this, just one step at a time. And like when I coach people, just stand up, one step, 2 step, 3 step. Just wait for that command and just get it out of the hole. Like yeah, I watched it. Yes, it was a beautiful lift, but I was tired. What you didn't see on the live stream was how I could not walk off that platform.
Mm,
I was dying. I needed James and Jeff. They had to come up to me and they're on the sides of me, assisting me to walk.
yeah,
I was so tired and I was in so much pain and agony.
yeah,
And it's just like that wasn't fair. Like the
yeah.
84s, they had 14 people. And I was like, why couldn't you pull a couple of them?
That's a more normal flight too. That's like a
Yeah.
more yeah. And I
So
think
I did not get to show my potential at all in squat, which I'm really heartbroken about because
yeah.
I couldn't. I didn't get the chance to show what I can do.
I
So
think
the yeah.
yeah, I know it's like I'm sure it's it's tough, but you did fantastic. Still, you kind of that was the hand you were dealt, and you did the best you could in the circumstance you had. Um, I think people don't really realize too the amount of pressure being in the suit causes, and just all that stuff. It definitely it takes the even though you're doing one rep, it really takes like the wind the wind out of you. It's all good.
I stretched out my legs. No, yeah, I even popped a blood vessel in my eye.
Yeah,
I had,
the first time I squatted 850, that happened to me too. It looks like I was like, it looks like I was smoking too much weed or something. It was just got all like
oh yeah,
bloodshot.
all that was red,
Yeah, it
you
was.
know. But it just like it was just so it's so defeating. Like, and everybody wants me to do it, and it's like, and then afterward they're like, yeah, you could have, yeah, you could have. I'm like, no,
They don't.
not in
Well,
that short time
it's
frame.
easy for them to say that, but
It's like
you're the one
experience
that
it.
actually needs to lift it. But cool.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, so there's obviously a lot of stuff that you've dealt with. I always like to ask too, like, have you ever had like any injuries or major setbacks, and like if so, how did you overcome that?
yeah. I see. I am not into all the social media, and like it's to me, it's partially annoying. Like how people over glorify, oh, I got this injury,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to do this and this. I'm like, dude, just keep it private.
Yeah, just do your thing.
Like
Yeah.
me, like yeah, I had an injury. It was 2016 Raw Nationals. um, exactly 1 week prior, I was doing stiff leg deadlifts, just showing somebody stiff leg deadlifts,
Yeah.
and it was only 135, and I pulled my lateral part of my hamstring and calf. So it was a severe strain. Yeah, tendon strain. Yeah, strain. I couldn't, and like, so this is your knee. Like, I can only do that.
Yeah,
Like, I couldn't move.
Yeah.
This is a week out from nationals.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, and so I didn't tell Kim till warm ups on squats.
Oh, good. I'm sure she was thrilled about that too.
No, she wasn't.
It's all right.
And then I learned.
I've had lifters do similar things to me, which is I'm always like, oh, I'm like, great, that's awesome, thanks for the
I thought I was being fine.
thanks for the head.
I thought I was gonna be okay. I was trying to be positive.
Yeah, no, I know. No, just for anyone listening in, please tell your coach if anything like that happens. Please, this is a public service announcement.
Yeah, because then I found out. So at our Iron Sisters camp in Rock Hill this past May, we were talking about it, and Kim's like, or I don't know who started it, but then I learned that Kim went to Jen and yelled at Jen instead of me. I didn't know.
She had to yell at somebody.
She yelled at Jen instead of me.
Oh my god, that's too funny.
She wanted to kill me so bad.
So after you're warming up for the squat. So what was kind of going through your head at that point, and then like what did you just like, I'll take it lift by lift, or like what was your strategy?
Yeah.
Like, kind of.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then like I just so like I didn't break any or tear or whatever term you want to use. It was just a strain.
Yeah,
so it was
but
just a severe strain.
you weren't 100% going in, and obviously it's an important.
No, it was just like you just pulled, like it was pulled.
Yeah.
Before before it would fray and snap.
Yeah.
So like I was able to walk, and I was taking a lot of Advil. I was icing. I wore my knee wraps. I mean, not knee wraps. Sorry, my knee sleeves for compression.
Yeah.
To keep it warm.
Yeah.
So I was moving, but it just didn't have the full strength.
Right.
And so like when I did 500, or I did 4 something for a warm up, maybe 460. And that's when I felt it irritating. I'm like, oh, crap. That's when I told her. And we tried to change my opener. And we didn't hear no announcement. There was a discrepancy about letting me change my opener. But, so I had to do a final warm-up, a 500. And then I had to go up there and do a 50-pound jump. I was not ready for.
Yeah.
And it was hard. So it was like 550 or something was my opener, 556. And then when I did my second attempt, it was even harder because I could feel the tension, like the pain. But I wasn't giving up. And I forgot who the commentator was, but that commentary on that second attempt was by far my best thing ever because it shows to grind for a lift and never give up. And I wasn't giving up on that lift because I needed a total. I was just like, no, I need to put pounds on this total because I was thinking ahead for the other lifts because it was hurting. While doing the lift.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then deadlifts, because I'm sumo, I like my second or third attempt, like, nope. Wasn't pulling that off the ground.
Yeah,
But
you were able to do the meet. I had a
yeah.
similar situation happen to me. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But I had like tweaked my like something in my upper back rear delt area, and so I ended up like I didn't want to pull out from my meet that I was doing, so I'm like let me just like rest it and I'll just kind of see like what happened. So I remember I just ended up it was kind of hurting when I was in bringing the bar low on the squat, so I ended up I only took like 2 squat attempts. I ended up finishing the meet, but it was one of my best like totals like ever, and
That's
sometimes you never know, like you just gotta like sometimes listen to your body and see like what
yeah.
happens, but so I think that's definitely a good story. Sometimes like a situation like that, it's a national championship. Maybe you don't want to pull out to like let me just see like what happens, and then you kind of
Hmm.
just like play it by ear from there. I think that's part of being an athlete is you gotta like roll with the punches and
Yeah.
just kind of adjust on the fly. So I think that's like kind of good advice, and I think it's just good advice in life too. Like sometimes stuff's just not perfect. Like you're not gonna have the perfect rest or perfect recovery or perfect training cycle all the time, and you could still give your best. You could still compete, and then obviously like if you're really hurt, like you could pull out. But sometimes it's like okay to like sometimes it's okay to like just like see like what happens and just give your best. And obviously be smart, listen to your body, but don't
Oh, I wasn't gonna pull out.
don't be don't I think the moral of the story is like don't be afraid to like don't be afraid to um, kind of push yourself, and even when things are not perfect, don't be afraid to compete. Don't be afraid to like because I think if you're always waiting for that perfect moment, you're never really going to be ready. You're never really going to like want to do anything. So I think
Yeah.
that's really good advice.
Oh yeah, like I wasn't like so crippled I couldn't lift. Like I was still
Yeah,
walking. So let's say
but
I was like 80% healed. Like so that was
yeah,
not enough. So that 20% or
sure.
15%, it wasn't enough to
I,
deter me
I,
from the
I,
competition.
that being said, though, I think that you're probably not giving yourself enough credit. 'Cause I bet you there's probably still a lot of lifters that were in your situation. They'd probably be like, they want like this perfect like prep. They want this perfect. So, and I think
Hmm.
that's like not always like realistic to do all the time. So, I think it's a good story and definitely worth like mentioning for sure. Um,
I don't even know what a perfect cycle is because I did so many competitions this year. But like adjusting on the fly, a good one was my opener on bench at Worlds. So I'm like 20 yards away. I'm like, that's the wrong rack height. Like I could tell it was the wrong rack height from that distance away. They're like, that's your rack. I'm like, no,
yeah,
it's not. That's not my
yeah.
rack height. I could tell it was wrong. And then I got up there, I'm like, that ain't my rack height. And I got down. So you know when you put your back down? I couldn't even touch the bar.
Yeah,
I couldn't even touch
yeah.
the
It's like
bar.
no.
And then, like, thankfully, the spotter, he did know some English. And he's like, do you want to adjust it? I looked at the clock. I'm like, we ain't got time for that. So I'm like, you got to lift this, honey. You got to hand it to me. So he did. He lifted it. I don't even know how I got an arch. I didn't care. All I cared about, I want this start command. I want to get my opener. I did not care. Like,
That's
that's how
funny.
quick I adjusted to it. Like, there's just times you have to adjust
Yeah,
to
well,
it.
I mean, I don't know if you were watching or not, but I know like Ray's rack height was wrong at nationals. He timed out of his opener
Yeah,
this past year, and it's just like sometimes you gotta like just know like, hey, maybe this is like
do
not
it.
maybe this is not perfect, but I gotta like get this lift in, or I gotta do something, or you gotta figure it out. So I think
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's good. Or like yeah, because it's like because sometimes you put yourself in a worse situation. Sometimes maybe not taking that lift,
yeah,
you're in a worse situation. So
exactly.
cool.
Well, if the rack height's too high on squat, then I'll be like, okay, try to adjust it as fast as possible. If it's too low, I'd still take it. I'd
Yeah,
still try to step it out. I
you
just
can
take
still take
my
it
time
out
and
at that
focus.
point. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Another question I always like to ask if you maybe have some women starting out like you kind of just got thrown into powerlifting kind of almost by accident, which is cool. But there's obviously a lot of women that like, want to get into it. If someone's starting out, they're not really sure where to start. Like, what advice would you give someone that's maybe looking to get into sport or just get into strength training, lifting with a barbell, like in general?
So, like as a person that's never been in the gym before, or they've
Maybe
been working out.
they want to get into strength training. Maybe they want to dabble in powerlifting. They're pretty new and they want to like kind of get involved in strength training and lifting weights.
Well, if it's a person that's never lifted, I always start them on machines because they've never lifted, and so
Just
the
some
machines
general like
they
strength
guide them
training.
to
Yeah,
that motion. Like I know people don't like Smith machines, but guess what? That's a
it's a
base
good place to
for the
start.
person to
Yeah,
understand a squat, so they're not scared of falling over. or a bench press. They're not scared that the bar is not going to go side to
It's not
side.
gonna fall on them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so they learn the motion, understand the motion, and feel it because they've never done it before. So I like starting people with machines. If it was a brand new person, so they know
Cool.
the movement, and then they upgrade to dumbbells. Okay, now I'm going to get stability.
Progression.
You know, and honestly, start out with a broomstick or PVC pipe, not the bar right away. That's me. Technique before weight.
Yeah, we have an axle bar that's 20 pounds. We have a woman's weightlifting bar which is 33 pounds. And yeah, some of our like maybe like women that are a little bit newer, like yeah, maybe they start off with the kettlebell and then they go to the women's bar and then they can progress to the regular bar and then and then kind of go from there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think and maybe not everyone can, maybe is ready to lift 45 pounds is a very like arbitrary number. Like maybe not everyone's ready to like lift that right out of the gate. And I really think that was a great point about the Smith machine. It's like I was actually talking to a woman tonight who she's brand new to lifting and she's doing great, but she's a little bit like in her head, and her biggest fear is like falling down in a squat.
Yeah.
And you don't really realize. So like maybe someone like me or you who's pretty proficient. We've had like 600-700 pounds on our back like more than once. But someone starting out, that could be really like a scary thing just to get under that weight and to get pinned under that weight. That's just a very, very scary and real thing. And there is some risk involved. I know, like I think we're some of us maybe are a little bit off to do like this powerlifting thing to like a real high level. But I mean, I've had 1,000 pounds in my back before. That's not a normal thing. But but to me, it's like it's a rush. It's fun. But to obviously to the average person, just having any weight on their back at 100 pounds, 200 pounds, it's like could be a really scary thing. So I think that's really good just to kind of build their confidence. And
yes.
So let's say they're confident out, they're lifting, they got some general technique. Maybe they want to do their first meet. Maybe they're interested in competing, but they're not really sure. Like, so what advice would you give someone? I know you talked about a lot about. I know, like for you, you seem to like always be having a good time. You call it doubling. I know it's like why are we doing this? But yeah, someone maybe wants to compete for the first meet. Like, what advice would you give them for someone that's looking to compete?
So when they're competing, you go and have fun and pretend it's another day in the gym. And that's what I do. Like when I go up to that platform, like when I'm squatting or benching, it's another day in the gym. I visualize my squat rack. I visualize like where I'm comfortable. I don't think about the people around me. I don't even think of the crowd. I focus on the referee. But with their first meet, just go and have fun. Don't worry about numbers because you don't know what you can do. And this is the only time, the exception, in my opinion, only time, this is your first meet where 9 for 9 goes into effect to just get that rush and just have fun, to get all your lifts. And honestly, or maybe it's their second or third meet. Because, like, I was helping at a meet, and there was this coach that was saying, wish I could remember the numbers a little better, but I know this kid, he wanted a PR and bench, like, I want 275. I want 275. The coach is like, I think 260, 265. He just wanted 9 for 9. I'm like, just let him go for a PR.
Yeah, I
never have fun.
Yeah,
so like it's like let the person go for a goal and have fun.
Have fun with it. Yeah,
where they can do. Yeah, but of course, like get an opener in and then just have fun. You know?
I think that's a good point. We could just kind of talk about too. I think the whole 9 for 9 thing gets a little overdone. It's like at the end of the day, it's a competition, and you want to like try to like do your best. Now, that being said, like you don't want to like maybe let's say you hit 300, you don't want to like put 500 on the bar for like your next attempt. But there's nothing. I think that there's nothing wrong with like trying to like push the envelope a little bit and have fun. I mean, it is the meet. Like that's the time to do it if you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's what powerlifting is. Powerlifting is a full max sport. You want to find your max.
Yeah.
Did I find my max at Worlds? No, because I had 8 people, not flying.
Yeah.
But total is what wins at the end of the day.
Right.
But first meet, just let them, whatever.
Yeah, get experience, get lifts. You want to like learn the commands and stuff. But yeah, I do agree, and I know like for me, I know like the way we kind of coach our people, especially like if their goal is to have a big total, we do like to if they can try and go 2 for 3 or 3 for 3 in the squat, same thing on the bench, and as far as like their third deadlift. If you're gonna YOLO on like one lift and you want to like go for on your third, it's your last lift of the day.
Yeah.
Why not try for something big? Why not try to end on like a high note? So that's kind of like what we like to do. And like I said, if someone is, if your total improves every meet and you're getting better, great. It's not like there's no like bonus points for like getting more lifts than the other person. Like
Nope.
obviously you don't want to go 3 for 9 or something like that, but it's not like yeah, you don't get like a special like award for like hitting more lifts than your competitor. You get
Nope.
the medals go out to who like lifts the most weight at the end of the day.
Yep.
So
And that's what I did with Ryan Baylor. We went YOLO on his third deadlift. He got all 3 squats, all 3 benches, and we just went all out on the third deadlift.
yeah, why not? Why not?
We hit all his goals he wanted.
Yeah,
let's have some fun, buddy.
Why not? Yeah, I think it's good. And it depends on like what you want to get out of it and things like that. But I do think it's like I think that it's just good to hear it from someone that's a little bit higher level competitor. Because I know, especially, I don't want to just not to pick on any federation or anything, but I know, especially like a lot of times in the USAPL world, I've seen that quite a bit. And it's like people go, you're traveling, you're spending all this money to go to nationals, and like it's like their lifts look so easy, and it's like, okay, you hit all your lifts, but like, did you even like try? Did you even push yourself? And it's like, why did you like travel across the country to like basically do like warm up weights? It's like it doesn't really make sense to me. I don't know.
I call it the modern way of powerlifting. I call it the modern. I know I'm going to get bashed, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Because I know there's other lifters that are just like me and just aren't as vocal, or they are.
Right.
But powerlifting is a full body max sport.
Yeah.
To show who's the strongest. Like, I did have a 9 for 9 day. 2015 Nationals in Scranton, Pennsylvania. But those third attempts were grinders.
Yeah.
They were not easy.
You had a perfect day, and that's like
yeah.
I've been competing in powerlifting for 12 years, and I've never gone 9 for 9 once. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing, but I've coached a lot of people to go 9 for 9, so I think it shows I'm a better coach than lifter. But I always tell people, if you do have those magical 9 for 9 days and you hit PRs in all your lifts, like take a snapshot, put it put that in the memory banks, enjoy it, because those days are really few and far between. Yeah. Especially if they're like really true like max lifts, like and like I said, I've been fortunate enough to kind of call some of those attempts for people, and that's always like, as a coach, that's always like the most like rewarding thing. But like we're not like necessarily trying to that's not the goal is not 9 for 9. The goal is to have the best total possible. Obviously, if you hit more lifts than less lifts, it's going to be beneficial. But don't worry, don't get so hung up on like just like hitting every single lift, every single meet.
Yeah.
And then also too, you don't really know if you never like learn how to strain, you never learn how to grind. That's a skill in itself too. And you need to challenge yourself sometimes.
Yes.
So, yeah. So.
Like, I love it when I do commentary. Like, I've done it at 2015. I've done it at the past few nationals, and I talk about grinding, and I love it. I love it when someone tags me later on in a post. Like, I wouldn't be able to find it right now this fast, but there's this girl, she's like, Bubby Parliff said, never stop, keep grinding. And she did, and she got her squat, and I was so happy.
That's awesome.
Like it was a gym lift. But, like, I love it when people
do
listen. And if you practice that grinding in the gym, it will go onto the platform. It translates. Yeah. Like, my second attempt on squat, I grinded because I ain't giving up. Because I know what it feels like and what to activate and what to hit next. Yeah. And, like, my third attempts at 2015, those are all American records. So I grinded for those.
That's great.
So there were PRs and records. Yeah. And, like, Kim, she got a 9 for 9 day, but she went for those records and got them, and they were PRs.
I don't think I think that was one of the first 9 for 9 days I've seen her complete. She did fantastic, and I know she's not one to really like shy away from challenging herself too, which I think is one of the reasons why she does so well. And I would say too, like standing up, like grinding a heavy squat, or like a heavy deadlift, something like that. It really kind of teaches you to just be a stronger person, like also mentally too. Anyone could it could be really easy to just blast up a weight and be successful that way. Like that's not a challenge. But those weights where you're like, oh boy, I don't know if I'm getting this, and you gotta fight it. You really need to fight and strain. Those are the ones that you really remember, and those are the ones that really make a huge difference for your mindset too. So.
Mm-hmm. But then also doing that grinding in the gym, that's also partially overloading your body, and your body adapts to that, and your muscles get stronger and ready to lift even more when you go to nationals or any competition. So it's like you have to push yourself in training. You don't want to do all this easy training all the time, you know?
Yeah.
Like me, I'm dying in my training right now, doing sets of 5s and 6s and 7s. I'm dying. But I know it's like making my body stronger for the future.
Yeah, cool. I think at the end of the day, you gotta, stress is what causes the adaptation, and if you don't cause stress to the body, you're not gonna adapt. You're not gonna get better. You're
Nope.
not gonna grow. So
Correct.
there's a fine line between, doing, overdoing it, and but I think a lot of, some people just gotta learn to like work hard and they gotta learn to like push. So I think that's
Yes.
definitely a good place to end. I think there's a lot of good tidbits in there, and I think we definitely, if anyone was not clear on your backstory, they will definitely know now. But thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find more about you if they want to follow you? And I know like you guys, I'll just give a quick plug also, but we've had the Iron Sisters come to our gym personally, so definitely if you want to talk about that a little bit and where they can find the seminars, because that's one I highly recommend. If you guys could check out the Iron Sisters camps, definitely check those out as well. So
Yeah. So I'm just the Instagrammer person. So bubbly powerlifter on Instagram. Yes, for Iron Sisters, our goal is to always have at least 4 camps a year, and so we're going to have one in San Antonio, Texas, in January. We're going to Madison, Wisconsin, in April.
cool.
We're going to Rock Hill, South Carolina, in May. We'll be in Canada, and Dundas, Toronto, in July. That's like the Canadian side. And then in August, we'll be in Fremont, Nebraska.
And then
And like to go online, it's IronSistersUSA.com.
IronSistersUSA.com. Cool. So definitely definitely follow you. Check out the site. It's great. Thank you so much for coming on. If the interview helped you guys, please share it. Please give the podcast a 5-star review. Subscribe to us on iTunes. It helps other people find us. And thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Woo! Bye!